Good morning. I am so glad to be back here with you. Daly and Bickle here with the Bookstack Coffee Chat. And if you are live with me or watching the replay, please pop in the chat and just let me know that you're here. Say hello. Let me know where you're coming from. And if anything resonates with you, if you have any questions, I do love conversation. And so even though we aren't actually able to hear each other speak during these coffee chats, we can communicate through the chat. And I would love to know a little bit more about you and where you're at. So here today, the sun just finally popped out after a full week of rain and dreary clouds. And even this morning, it looked like rain again. So I put on the most colorful, bright outfit that I could find today. Turned on all the lights in the room, so hopefully it's not too dark and you can see me okay. But yeah, just trying to cheer myself up a little bit. I have my trusty cup of coffee. Hopefully you have yours, or tea, or whatever you drink. I love flavored coffees. Good morning. See you popping on there. Yeah, I'm trying to get away from the creamers and all that stuff that's not so healthy for you. So drinking black coffee today, but it is flavored beans. So it's not just plain coffee. So anyway, today, if you saw in the headline, it's talking about imperfection. And so often we get so caught up in, especially in social media, looking at everyone else and thinking they're oh so perfect and we are not. And so easy to get kind of down and on ourselves and depressed and everything. But I want to encourage you today by sharing a few of the books that I have been starting to read. This week, made a trip into one of the local libraries. Blessed to have several local libraries in my area. So earlier this week, I think it was Monday, stopped by and just to see what they had, because I was running out of books to share here on the coffee chat. So I found, actually, I was so excited because I found two books about the television show Monk. And let me just put this up on the bottom so you can see. It's Mr. Monk, It's Even, and also that one's by Lee Goldberg. Also, Mr. Monk and the New Lieutenant. So I don't know about you. Have you ever watched the TV show Monk? If you haven't, it is really entertaining. A mystery. He's a detective with OCD. And so that's where the humor comes in. But I never knew that they had books around the TV show. And I know with movies, they tend to have books, and the books tend to be better than the movies, in my opinion. So I haven't really dug into these too deep, but I did want to share with you, and here's the other book, Mr. Monk and the New Lieutenant, a little bit about an intro by Lee Goldberg in the one book. Let me get back here, see if there are any comments. So I honestly wasn't aware that they had this series, and I thought, well, maybe they're just the books based on an already seen episode. But from what I've been reading, they're actually new books, they could be new series. And actually that happened with one of the authors. Mr. Goldberg says here that he wrote the book Mr. Monk Goes to the Firehouse, and the producers liked that book so much that they actually turned it into one of the TV episodes. And he says here, the episode titled Mr. Monk Can't See a Thing may be the first time in American TV history that a tie-in novel of a TV show has been adapted into an episode of the series instead of vice versa. So I just thought that was interesting. And I found it, just as a writer myself, I was amazed at how prolific he was as a writer. So whenever they came to Lee Goldberg to possibly write a book series based on the television show, he says, I took the assignment, which was an insane thing to do, since it would mean writing a new book by night every 90 days, alternating between Monk and Diagnosis Murder. He was writing a series of books for those two, while also running a TV series during the day. So he wrote 2 books a year for just the Monk series at night. I just find that amazing. So incredible. Actually incredible. And I know a lot of other authors out there can just put books out there all the time. I am not one of them. I am not one of them. As far as fiction goes, I'm still working on my historical nonfiction. And that's a little bit longer than my typical nonfiction books. So anyway, on to the next book related to television. I thought I'd keep that theme today. And perhaps more of you are familiar with this book. It's The Magnolia Story by Chip and Joanna Gaines with Mark D'Agostino. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. So if you've been watching my coffee chat for any time, you will realize that I tend to read books that are not new releases. And that's not on purpose. I don't know why that is, actually. But I just wanted to encourage you that as readers, when you read an old book, that really benefits the author still. The backlist is what it's called. Those older titles can really help an author's income line, and we appreciate that very much. So just FYI, don't be afraid of those old books. They're still really good and worth reading, such as this book. And I think I might be the only one of my friends that has not yet read this book the whole way through to completion. So that's my goal this week. But there are a couple of points in here I wanted to share as it relates to all of us. So this is Joanna speaking, Joanna Gaines, and she says, "For the two of us, writing these pages has offered a welcome chance to stop and look back on the story of our lives, and it certainly has been an eye-opening process. How many of us take the time to relive half a lifetime's worth of happy memories, cringe-worthy failures, and unforgettable adventures together? How many of us get a chance to sit down and talk about the rough times we overcame in the past, or to laugh about the stupid mistakes we made when we were young?" She goes on to say, "Writing it all down has also allowed us to reflect on the inspiration we've picked up and the lessons we've learned along the way, and there have been many." So if you've ever watched an episode of their TV show, Fixer Upper, you know that they aren't perfect. The houses aren't perfect. Their designs aren't always perfect. Things go wrong. And even in the Monk episodes, he is obviously not perfect. He has OCD. The cracking the case isn't an easy and simple thing. And I think that is what attracts us to them so much, right? Because they aren't perfect. And they are willing to, in Chip and Joanna's case, allow the cameras to roll and show us what life is really like. It's brave on their part, and we appreciate it. We love it because even though they're not perfect, they're able to overcome things and overcome adversity, right? And that's what makes a great story, whether you're watching it on TV or reading it in a book. So she said here about, they wrote this book together, she and her husband, Chip. And she said, I don't know if you caught it, about how many people have the chance to do that together as a couple. And it just reminded me, I was very privileged several years ago when I was first starting my life story writing business, which I called Lasting Legacies. The first project I ever had were clients in Virginia. So I made the trip to Virginia to interview and record the life story of a 81 and 83, I think were their ages at the time, year-old couple. So here I was, brand new to it. I had been in the editing industry before, but this was my first book project, my first writing of a complete book. And so I went up there and interviewed them. They were such a precious couple. It was such a blessing to be able to work on that book. It actually turned out to be that they only agreed to be interviewed if I would also interview their children and their children's spouses. So it turned into a huge project. I actually have a copy of it here. They decided, since it was a commissioned biography, to just be privately published. So just wanted to let you know out there too, that if you ever feel like writing your life story, if you feel God prompting you to do that, please do so. Even if it's in journal form, you don't have to share it with the world, but it is still important, not only for you, but for family members. So they decided to have a custom book, hand printed. Let me just turn off that banner here 1 second. And they had, this is the book, Living Wisely, Reflections and Reminiscences of Russ and Lucy Wisely. So this thing turned out to be a massive undertaking, as you can see there. But what a privilege it was to hear them. They were both sitting in the room at the same time. Typically only one spoke at a time. But it was just such a blessing to be able to learn from them about, how they overcame adversity, how they recognized their flaws and how they learned from them. So, imperfection, there's a point to it, right? We can learn from it if we choose to allow ourselves to learn from it. And then another, I just wanted to share with you a little bit more about the life story business. You can privately publish, or you can, self-publish and put on, make available to a wider audience, bank it for sale. So another client I have was Charles Emerson Johnston, and his book, Driving Force, The X Plus Factor to My Success. So that's that one right there. It's actually available on Amazon as well. But he understood that his challenges, and he shared his challenges as well. And he hoped that his insights and experiences would benefit others. And I was so honored to be able to work on that with him and help him get that put together as well. So that's what I've been reading. Those are some of the things I've been working on in the past. Hopefully you can look those up, and maybe you will enjoy reading those monk books as well. But I just mainly wanted to encourage you today to not get caught in the trap, the mental mindset of having to be perfect all the time, because it's not attainable. It's not realistic. And I know I'm speaking to myself here. It's so easy to do, right? But whenever we're frustrated, whenever we are tired, whenever we're feeling less than, it's always good to go back to the one who can comfort us, right? And to remember who we are and who he is. So, Romans 3:23, going back to the Bible, says, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So we are not perfect by any means, but that's okay. We're not meant to be perfect. We have, we were meant to be perfect, but the fall kind of ruined all that. So until Jesus comes again, we are not going to be perfect here on earth, but that's okay because Jesus is with us. And Paul, writing in Philippians chapter 3, verse 12. Let me put that one up here. Not that I have already attained or am already perfected, but I press on that I may lay hold of that which Christ Jesus has also laid hold of me. So to keep pressing on, keep moving, keep going forward. Because as in Colossians 1:28 says, let me put that up there. Oop, can we see it? Anyway, can't get that one to show for some reason. Him, Christ, we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom, that we may present every man perfect in Christ Jesus. So we're not perfect in ourselves, but when we accept and believe in Jesus, he is perfect for us on our behalf. So I just wanted to share that. Hopefully it encouraged you. Hopefully you have a few more books to add to your own book stack. And I, like I said, always, if you're watching the replay, feel free to chat in the comments. I look over those and will comment. I return here every Thursday at 10 a.m. So be sure to follow me here on Facebook or subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can also see this. And if you are interested in writing your life story, I currently have one opening for commissioned biographies, my services. So if you'd like to learn more about that, let me know in the chat. I'll get up with you about that. Or if you just want to kind of take it on your own and go for it, I encourage you to do that as well. I have a book to help you with that. It's called the 1-Year Collection of Weekly Writing Prompts. So feel free to get a copy of that. Where is my thing here? I'm looking for a picture. All this technology. There we go. The 1-year collection of weekly writing prompts is available to help you. It's 52 questions. Write the answer to one question a week. And so by the end of the year, you will basically have the foundation, the basic outline of your life story. So I hope you all have a blessed day. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to speak with you again next week. Take care.